November 24th, 2020. It is Thursday, and our I Can for today says, I can round to any assigned place. So I want to show you how rounding to different places change our answer. So let's start with two short, quick examples. We're going to round 52. And first I'm going to ask you to round it to the nearest 10. And then I'm going to ask you to do 52 again, but we're going to round it to the nearest 100. So if I'm rounding to the nearest 10, I need to show between 50 and 60 on my number line. So I'm not looking at this right now. I'm just looking between 50 and 60. And I want to know, is 52 closer to 50 or closer to 60? Well, the first thing I need to find is I need to find my midpoint. The midpoint is the halfway point between 50 and 60, and in this case it would be 55. Well, I'm going to put my four little marks. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where would 52 be? Well, here's 50, 51, 52 would be right here. So is 52 closer to 50 or closer to 60? Well, I would say that 52 is definitely closer to 50. So we would say that 52 rounds to 50. And that's our answer. Now I'm going to show you how rounding 52 again, but to a different place, will give us a different answer. This time it says to round to the nearest 100. So I want to know, does my number come closer to 0 or closer to 100? So I'm going to draw my number line. And the first thing I need to figure out is what number is my midpoint? Which number comes right in the middle? So it's half here and half here. If you said 50, you're exactly right. So where would 52 be? Well, let's make my four marks. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I counting by ones? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? No, I'm counting by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. That means this mark next to it is 60. So where would 52 be? 52 would be right there. Is 52 closer to 0 or closer to 100? If you said closer to 100, you're exactly right. So we would say that 52, when rounded to the nearest 100, 52 rounds to 100. And that would be my answer. So look, we took the same number and rounded it to different places. Now there's a faster way to do this, and this is the way that we're going to practice today. I'm going to show you how we can look at the digit, a specific digit, to tell us which way to round. So let's start with a big number. I'm going to write the number 964,186. I'm going to write it 3 times on the same line. 964,186. 964,186. And we're going to round this to the nearest tens. I'm going to round to the hundreds, and I'm going to round to the thousands. So I have to round it 3 separate times. That means I need to write the number 3 separate times. So the first thing it asked us was to round to the tens place. Which digit is in the tens place? You said the 8, you're exactly right. So I'm going to circle the neighbor. Neighbor has 6 friends at their house. Well, we're going to have a house party. And your family has said you're allowed to have less than a handful of people, which means you can have 1 person at your party. You can have 2 people at your party. You can have 3. You can have 4. Am I allowed to have 5 people at my party? No, because my hand would be full. So it has to be a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. and then they can stay at my party. Now, if it's a block party and you have more than 4 people, it means you could have 5 or 6, they have to go next door to the neighbor's house instead, because you're not allowed to have that many people at your party. Am I allowed to have 6 people at my party? No. So I have to take somebody next door. They're going next door to the neighbor's party. This turns into 0. And when I took someone next door, my 8 turns into a 9. Now, all of the numbers in the front are going to stay the same. So I'm going to rewrite 964,190. I'm going to take the same number and I'm going to round to the hundreds place. So I underline the 1, but this time I need to circle the 8. So 8 is my neighbor. Am I allowed to have 8 people at my party? Is 8 a handful? Is one of my hands full? If I zoom out here, let's see here. Yes, this hand is full. That's too many people at the party. So I need to make a trip next door. I can drop them off at the neighbors, take them back to their house. Take them next door. These both drop to 0. Now, when I take somebody next door, this digit changes from a 1 to a 2, and everything in front stays the same. All right, let's try our number to the thousands place. Which digit is in the thousands place? You said 4, you're exactly right. And I circle the 1. Is 1 a handful? No, you're allowed to have 1 person at your party. So it drops to a 0, everything stays the same. You didn't have to take anybody next door. Everything after it turns into 0s, and everything in front of it stayed the same. The 4 did not change because we didn't draw that arrow taking someone back. And this is how we can round to any assigned place. So let's pick another number. That was number 3. I'm going to skip 2 lines and I'm going to write number 4. Number 4, I want you to write down 543,982. And you're going to write it 3 times. 543,982. I wrote mine 3 times. And I'm going to round to the same place that it's set up here at the top of my chart. It wants me to round to the tens place. So I'm looking at my digits. What number is in the tens place? If you said 8, you're right. And I'm going to circle the neighbor. Am I allowed to have 2 people at my party? Yes, it's not a handful. So it turns into a 0 and everything else stays the same. Okay, bear with me. I know this is a different way of talking about it and doing it. If you try it a couple times, you'll get the hang of it. This place, we're supposed to round to the hundreds. Which digit is in the hundreds place? The 9. So I need to circle the 8. Am I allowed to have 8 people to my party? No, too many. So I have to take somebody next door, and then these drop to 0. Now what does my 9 turn into? Turns into a 10, but we know we're not going to turn a 9 into a 10 and write 10 down there because I'm not allowed to have 2 digits in the same place. So let's look at it as 39. If it was 39 and I got 1 more, what number would I have? I would have 40. And these stay the same. And then lastly, we're rounding to the thousands place. Which number's in the thousands? The 3. So I circle the neighbor. Am I allowed to have 9 people at my party? No way. I have to take some people next door. So take them next door, and then our numbers are fine. They drop to 0. Now, instead of having 3 people next door, they got an extra 1. Now they have 4. And the 54 in the front stays the same. And those 2 actually turned out to be the same answer, even though we were rounding different places, which is very interesting. It's kind of what we learned on our roller coasters yesterday, is that you can land at the same place with different numbers. All right, the last one for today. Here's number 5. Number 5, I want you to write this number 3 times. 421,326. 421,326, 421,326. We're going to first round it to the tens place. Which digit is in the tens place? The 2. So I'm looking at the 6. Is 6 more than a handful? Yes, this hand's full and I got one more. So 6 is too big. And if I think about it, 26 is closer to what? You said 30, you're exactly right. So 6 was too big. I brought one next door. My 2 changed into a 3, and that turned into 0. Because 26 is closer to 30 than closer to 20. And all of the other digits stay the same. Now I'm rounding to the nearest hundreds place. I underline the hundreds and circle the neighbor. If I'm looking at it again, am I allowed to have 2 people at my party? Yes. They're just fine, no problem. Write down your zeros. Everything else stays the same. All right. And then lastly, we're rounding to the thousands place. Am I allowed to have, I underlined the thousands place. I circled the neighbor. Am I allowed to have 3 people at my party? Yes, it's not a handful. There's no problem. So they turn into zeros. And everything else stays the same. The only time there's a problem is if you have more than a handful of people at your party, because your family said you're only allowed to have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, any more than that, and they have to go next door. All right, it's time for some practice. Try your best.